Hey everyone, I've started recording. Let's go ahead and get started. We are a little bit low on attendance today. Daniel, I think you have the first topic, external control plane installer.
Hey there. Yes. Should I?
Do you want to present? Yeah, please do.
1 second. All right. Oh, can't share your screen. Oh.
I can share for you if it's easy.
Yeah, that would be nice. I don't know what's wrong with Firefox today.
That's okay. Let me think out. Yeah, Google is not the friendliest to use, that's for sure. Let's make sure I'm putting out the right screen. All right, I will try to share this one. Okay, so let me bring up the agenda here. All right, do you want me to open up the PR, the control plane?
Yes, it would be great. Thanks.
All right.
I'll just quickly outline what it's about, and we can maybe discuss whether it's the right or wrong approach, or if somebody has a better idea. And
yeah, give us an overview.
Yeah, Chanson did all the work. I just put it on the agenda because we discussed it in private before, and we thought it would be an elegant solution to the problem we have. So the problem we have is that we would like to use, so we're working on sail operator, right? And we would like to run the Istio integration tests and first of all, make sure that our deployments that we create using the sail operator are fine and functional. So it would be great if we could run the Istio integration tests against them. And yeah, so it's basically a lot of testing exposure for the sail operator deploying different kinds of control planes by just running the integration tests and replacing the deployment step that currently uses Istio-CTL with our operator deploying it. So we wrote a very lightweight script that converts the CRDs, the Istio operator CRD that Istio Cuddle uses, to the ones that we use. And they're similar enough that it's actually a really simple script. And we thought it would be the most elegant way to achieve this would be to add a field or a flag to the Istio integration test framework where you could point it to an external installer that you could execute instead of the Istio Cuddle installation. So if you set the flag and you define that binary or script or whatever, some executable, it will pass the Istio operator YAML and an install command to that executable, and basically outsource the installation of the control plane and also the cleanup later to that executable. So that way we have a minimal change in the test framework, which would allow us to keep a script in our repo, so we don't need to add that script to the core Istio repo, and it would allow us in our CI to just execute the script instead of the default installation. Now, in the PR, there's been a discussion about whether that's the right way forward, and one of the points made was that we want to move away from the Istio operator resource anyway, and it wouldn't make sense to sort of double down on it by adding this sort of test framework API that's based on the Istio operator YAML. And that makes sense, of course. We're just wondering, what are our options? Because currently Istio operator is the only thing that defines a complete Istio installation. Like you can of course, install Istio with Helm charts, but there's the only thing that can bind those Helm charts together and tell you which ones are to be installed and all their values is the Istio operator YAML. And then we even have tests that use some of the features that we have in Istio operator, like changing individual resource fields in the generated Kubernetes resources. That's one of the features that the Istio operator resource has. And there's just no equivalent to that in Helm. So I feel like whatever we do to replace Istio operator YAML in the tests, the replacement will kind of look like Istio operator YAML again. So yeah, I don't really know like how to move forward on this. And maybe somebody else has a good idea.
All right, I think we have some hands up. Or maybe it didn't. Okay, so the change seems pretty small, if I understood it correctly, right? And the biggest concern, if I understood it correctly, though, is this is not a contract, and we could potentially break you. If I read it clearly, that there may be some change in the test framework and maybe break your test. Is that correct, John? Is that the main concern you have?
No, that's not a concern. That's just that's a given, I guess. Like, I don't think anyone, hopefully everyone's on the same page with this, that like, it's an unstable interface. My concern specifically was that it was an unstable interface that was totally undocumented. So like if I'm going and we have an interface that says, hey, like the contract is we give you the Istio operator file and you do the install, then that's totally fine. I can avoid breaking the interface where possible. But if the contract is just, we run this executable at some point, it's like, I have no idea what does it depend on? Is it the entire file system? Is it every environment variable? Like it's unclear. And so it's hard to change things without breaking them. So that's all. I just wanted to say, like, this is what the tool can expect. They can expect these files in these locations or something. And we may change that over time, but at least we know what they should expect and what they shouldn't expect. And I think some of that may have been added since I said that. So it's not necessarily fresh commentary, but that was my initial concern.
Okay, sounds like that's not too hard to resolve, to make it.
That's not really a problem. I mean, we can document the interface better, and that's definitely something that needs to be done. But there was another discussion about whether this is the right forward, doubling down on usage of Istio operator. I think Ben pointed to an issue. We wanted to get rid of Istio operator. The thing is just that what I'm trying to say is getting rid of Istio operator is a large operation, and we can help with that. But if this sort of precludes this small change that we want to make, then that's just going to drag it out for a long, long time.
I get that, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is this is not a general extensibility framework. If it's basically adding an extensibility framework to the integration suite that continues to depend on IOP just like everything else, right? It's basically just adding a way to shell out so that you can install with a sail operator. Like it's not, this extensibility framework would not support anything that does not also use IOP as the main contract, right? So it's not really any more flexible than what the suite already does, more or less. It's just a way to like, feed it to sail operator. And I have a little bit of concern about adding, basically a bash shell out to every test in the suite just to support sail operator if it doesn't also bias like forward compatibility with doing it a different way in the future, right? Because if we change anything, if we do anything else, we're going to have to do this again and not use IOP or use something like we're going to have to go through all this again and have the same problem. So like, I think my concerns are that yes, just shelling out to a random bash script with no interface is, as John pointed out, something I don't really feel very comfortable about because that's easy to break. But also two, if we say, okay, well then IOP is the contract, then we're exactly where we were before, and we're just adding a shell script to do stuff with sale operator to the whole suite, which is also not as good as I would like. But that's my main objection, I think.
All right. I mean, in that case, would you? I mean, the current. I think Chanson's first implementation actually used the working directory as the variable that was passed over to the executable. I guess that's a bit more future-proof then, because whatever. I mean, there needs to be something that defines the environment the test is to be executed in, right? And that something will probably live in the working directory of the test. Or we could say, I mean, currently it's written as an IOP.yaml. Whatever it is in the future, we can write it into the working directory, right? So would that be future-proof enough for you?
Again, it's like if the interface is defined enough so that, you know, what John pointed out is something that we can control for, I think that's fine. Like, you know, I'm fine making it more general as long as we have a contract about what can be provided to the installation step and what the installation step can consist of. But it's not, you know, built around IOP, which is what it's already built around, and therefore not much more flexible. So yeah, if there's a third way to do that, that would be good. And yeah, like Austin is saying, like ideally this would be something where in the future, if we wanted to, we could just, you know, drop in Helm instead. We have Helm tests that are doing their own bespoke installation stuff. It would be nice if we could just reuse this, or at least have a way to extend it to support Helm. But if it's built around IOP, then it can't. So
Yeah, but all of our tests are built around IOP.
I know, but I don't want to add a new way to do something that makes that no easier to change, right? Like it's not an extensibility framework if it's as fragile as it was before and as opinionated as it was before. It's just adding support for sale operator, that's my problem. But yeah, that's my objection. I would like to see a way that
if we want to
do
change.
That, yeah.
So if someone has the idea to not use IOP for the test, like we could just do that. It's not like we're promising the stable interface. Like if we stop using IOP and use new IOP, we'll just pass that to the binary, right? It will break sale, and hopefully that's something they live with. But we're not like locking ourselves in.
Yeah. If we're not locking ourselves in on IOP being the contract, then that's fine. Like, but that's the main thing I don't want to do is like say, okay, the way we solve the arbitrary bash script is say IOP is the contract, and then we're still stuck. If we're not doing that, that's fine. If we are doing that, I have an objection, I guess.
All right, then I guess we should use the working directory. And yeah, you don't have to worry about breaking us, because if you break us, then we go in and fix it. That's kind of the whole idea, that we want to get notified when we're broken, right? We want to run all of these tests in a sale operator against sale operator deployments, and when things break, then we go in and fix them. So, but yeah, absolutely, we should document the interface properly, and we've also thought about adding a little test that shows how this is used. Don't test any Prometheus and other non-Istio components.
All right, that sounds
Potentially.
yeah. So basically, when it's break, you guys are on the hook to fix it, because the tests would break in yours, not Istio's.
Exactly. So, and it's an internal test framework, right? So, of course, we should document the interfaces, but we should not worry about breaking anyone. We can make changes to these kinds of interfaces as we wish. Like if you decide tomorrow that IOP is gone and there's going to be sort of a Helm wrapper chart, and that breaks the sale integration tests, then that's fine. Then we have to adjust. That's just the way it is. That's what we're buying into by using these tests. That's we're completely we know about that, and that's fine.
Makes sense, and that applies to us too, right? If we did something that broke it, we would know pretty quickly. Okay.
Hansen?
Yes. Yeah, one thing that, I mean, I think it seems that we decided to use the directory, but also if you guys think it might be better option to use the string, which is config.control plane values. In every main test, we are setting that. So even if the working directory or like writing to a file is like, if it will be deprecated in future, but this config.control plane values string will stay, maybe it will be better to pass that to the script, not the directory, but that string.
It's probably easier for like prowl reporting to write to a directory so that we can just, dump that out with the rest of the artifacts. But yeah, I don't have a huge opinion on that outside of that. That we should be able to do that, right? So if the test fails, I should be able to see those contents of the config exactly. But beyond that,
yeah.
Isn't there not one IOP file anyway? So there's like 6 of them that are like all stacked on top of each other and merged.
probably.
And like some flags that are passed in as like set flags, not as a IOP. So I don't really care how we do it as long as it's not like a huge pain in the ass for us to implement. I just am not sure that just passing the Istio operator file, if it's that simple. Maybe it is. I'm not looking at the code or anything and saying that, just my memory of it. But just something to keep in mind. I recall that we like merge a bunch of configs, and you just might need to take that into consideration.
Okay, I get it. Then directory it is. I mean, I am afraid now.
All right, should we wrap this discussion up and move to the next topic?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for presenting. And Mike, are you on the line?
Yeah, I think I might be unblocked now. I'm working with Basila on the Istio release process or the branch cut for 125 today, and it seems the instructions have not been updated with all the like. Oh, sorry. Did I mute halfway through that?
Okay, I think we heard you said instruction are not updated, but you also unblocked. Is that correct?
I think that I am unblocked as of like 90 seconds ago. So we'll see how far I get. But just would appreciate async help from anyone who has done the release process on a Mac before, in case I get stuck again. And I'll be going behind myself to clean up the docs as needed with any additional flags, because it seems like there's a couple needed to get the Docker host the correct like volume amounts and permissions to be able to access the host from within the container on the Mac.
Okay, that's so much appreciated. All right, thank you so much, Mike. Any other topics do we have? Anything in the chat? Okay, I guess not. Should we wrap this call up? Thanks everyone for joining and talk to you soon. Bye.